Welcome to the next of our studies into Christianity. Now we're looking at the Ten Commandments, and this is the first of a two-part presentation. The first question is, which Ten Commandments? There are actually two possible sets of Ten Commandments in the Bible. Paragraph headings like the Ten Commandments in the NIV Bible have been added by modern editors. We need to find which set is the correct one according to the text itself. The first set is in Exodus 20. God descends to Mount Sinai with lots of thunder and summons Moses. Now this is just Moses, no one else is to attend. We have to ask ourselves, is this just the leader giving himself more authority by pretending to have God on his side? Many other leaders throughout history have done this kind of thing. So this first set in Exodus 20 is the set most people know. You shall have no other gods before me. You shall not make for yourself an idol. You shall not misuse the name of the Lord your God. Remember the Sabbath day by keeping it holy. Honour your father and your mother. You shall not kill. You shall not commit adultery. You shall not steal. You shall not give false testimony against your neighbour. And you shall not covet your neighbour's house or wife or goods. Nowhere in the text is this set actually called the Ten Commandments. God continued talking, giving many more laws, such as anyone who curses his father or mother must be put to death. Whoever does any work on the Sabbath day must be put to death. And thou shalt not suffer a witch to live. The same story, the same Ten Commandments, is retold in Deuteronomy 5. The commandments are the same, but the reason given for Sabbath rest is totally different. In Exodus 20, it's because of the creation, which took place in 6 days, and God rested on the seventh day. In Deuteronomy 5, God says, "Remember that you were slaves in Egypt, and that the Lord your God brought you out of there with a mighty hand and an outstretched arm. Therefore the Lord your God has commanded you to observe the Sabbath day." Why the difference? Was God unsure about his reasons for ordering people to rest on pain of death? God then inscribes 2 stone tablets by his own finger. In Exodus 31, when the Lord finished speaking to Moses on Mount Sinai, he gave him the 2 tablets of the testimony, the tablets of stone inscribed by the finger of God. Notice, this means that the Ten Commandments are the only part of the Bible written directly by God himself. When Moses came down from the mountain, the people had made a golden calf for themselves to worship. Moses was so angry that he broke the 2 tablets on the ground. We read in Exodus 32, "When Moses approached the camp and saw the calf and the dancing, his anger burned, and he threw the tablets out of his hands, breaking them to pieces at the foot of the mountain." So God said he would redo the stone tablets. In Exodus 34, the Lord said to Moses, "Chisel out 2 stone tablets like the first ones, and I will write on them the words that were on the first tablets, which you broke." So let's see how many God remembered from the first tablets. This is what God carved on the second set of tablets. "Be careful not to make a treaty with those who live in the land where you're going, or they will be a snare among you. Break down their altars, smash their sacred stones, and cut down their Asherah poles." That's completely different from the first commandment in the first set. "Do not worship any other god, for the Lord, whose name is jealous, is a jealous God." That's just about right. "Do not make cast idols." Again, that's just about right. "Celebrate the feast of unleavened bread." Completely different. "The first offspring of every womb belongs to me, including all the firstborn males of your livestock, whether from herd or flock. No one is to appear before me empty-handed." That's totally different. "6 days you shall labour, but on the 7th you shall rest." That's correct. "Celebrate the Feast of Weeks." Where did that come from? "Do not offer the blood of a sacrifice to me along with anything containing yeast." That's totally different. "Bring the best of the first fruits of your soil to the house of the Lord your God. again completely different. And finally, do not cook a young goat in its mother's milk. That's completely wrong. God got 7 out of 10 wrong. This set of commandments was very different from the first. What use today is a commandment like, do not cook a young goat in its mother's milk? But notice Exodus 34:28, and he wrote on the tablets the words of the covenant, the 10 commandments. Aha! So we finally know which set is the true 10 commandments. It's this set, the ones in Exodus 34. The ones that command us not to cook a young goat in its mother's milk. So the one part of the Bible that God supposedly wrote himself by his own finger was a total mess. It's worse than incompetent. Perhaps this is because it wasn't written by the hand of an invisible being at all, but this is all a legend, written down by men about 800 years after these events were supposed to have happened. But let's be kind and assume that the popular set of commandments are the real ones, even though we now know they aren't. Notice that some key laws aren't part of the 10. None of these is included. Do not keep slaves. Slavery is bad. Do not rape. Do not abuse children. Do not kidnap or abduct people. Do not commit genocide. Instead, we get do not covet your neighbour's house. Property crime is treated more seriously than slavery or rape. In the second part, we'll look at some of the punishments for breaking these commands and take a closer look at a couple of them. Then we'll see how easy it is to come up with a better set of commandments that would have served humanity well.